AirTech Mod Soldier here, and I am back to talk about Bad Batch Season 1, Episode 11, and my thoughts on this episode. It was a great episode. I love the returning characters, and I love the story. Is there problems in this story? Yes. Not massive ones, but kind of did annoy me a bit. But I loved what they were trying to do in this episode because it just seemed so right. And it didn't seem forced like we've seen in other episodes. Well, it's basically a rebellion's being formed in this episode, and this one actually feels right. It feels like it should be happening this fast. Other rebellions have been trying to make in this series. I think it's been too fast. That for people just to turn on the Empire when it's just, you know, the galaxy's just become an empire. It's ridiculous. But this episode, absolutely brilliant. How they're trying to make a new resistance, make a new rebellion from it, which is actually good and makes sense to me. So I'm going to go into spoilers now, but I'm just going to say, great episode. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's a great episode. You need to watch it. So, spoilers now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're on Ryloth. Finally, we're seeing planets that actually matter. And we are seeing Syndulla and Hera. Didn't mind seeing Hera back. Not a massive fan of the Rebels. Didn't think it was a great show, and the lead character is now an absolute prick. But there you go. But yeah, I liked Hera. I did like her. I liked her through the series, and I like her here as well. But yeah, this is the only planet that really makes sense, that would really go for a rebellion straight away. Because if you don't remember from the Clone Wars, the agreement between the Republic and the Twi'leks, is it Twi'leks or Twi'leks? I'm going to go Twi'leks. Twi'leks was, after the war was over, the Republic would leave. But unfortunately, it looks like the Empire is sticking around. And Syndulla doesn't really want to start a fight anymore. He's finally gotten peace. The war's finally over. The people don't have to be worried anymore. At least that's what he's trying to do. Because in the first scene, we see Senator Tarr. He's trying to connect with the people. He's trying to explain to them why the Empire is sticking around. The people are very nervous about this because, again, it is a foreign army on their soil. And Syndulla is the more popular figure in the room. And I've loved that about the relationship between Syndulla and Tarr. Both political figures, different sides of the table. You can tell Syndulla loves his people, whereas Tarr is just an arsehole he's pretty much a typical politician. Who, he just wants the easy road, he just wants to be this fat prick. That's all he is. And I can respect that. But you start to see the relationship between Tarr and Syndulla with the people. The people are a lot more trusting of Syndulla, which is a massive threat to Senator Tarr. And you start to see the Empire trying to take more control of the planet, trying to have to explain now to the people why they're taking away their materials, why they're taking away their valuable stuff. And I think at first, the Empire's asking, they're trying to connect with people, which I think is correct. To have people say that, the Empire's just going to come on a planet, just kill everybody and take all the equipment and crap that they need, it's ridiculous. No Empire would ever do that. I mean, if you look back in history, the British Empire, the French Empire, the Spanish Empire, there was always an offer of kindness, and then the natives got screwed over. So it's kind of, again, great story, but kind of pointing it to like what's happened in our reality. So I did like that. We're also starting to see not everybody is happy with the Empire staying on Ryloth because of Gobi. Gobi is hold on. Gobi's Syndulla's friend. They've been fighting together for a long time, and he is massively upset with the Empire still being here. We also saw Crosshair, he's on Ryloth as well, but he's there for anti-terrorism reasons. He's there to find Gobi, or at least to follow him and see what he's doing, because the Empire know there is a rebellion being formed here, and they're trying to stamp it out fast. Which again makes sense. The Empire are not just going to go killing people; they're going to be tactful in this in the start. And we also saw a new clone trooper. I didn't really get his name, but I also like the fact they didn't just make him just this normal white stormtrooper. They kept his Clone Wars uniform, which I liked. I wish they'd actually have kept that with most of the clones. I don't think the entire clone army needs to still be all white troopers. When I say white, I mean the uniform. You know, I think there should be still different colours, and then you start to see more and more white clone troopers, because the Empire's, the Republic's turning more and more into the Empire. I would have preferred that, but there you go. So Syndulla has a chat with the clone. The clone is pretty much just telling him, everything's okay. We're here to help you. Syndulla's, he's happy with it, because he again doesn't want to start another war. Syndulla also tells the people that, and the people cheer for him. And the Admiral pretty much knows that the power of the people is with Syndulla, and that is a massive threat to the Empire, because he could galvanize them into a serious threat to the Empire. We then go to another scene with Hera and Chopper. It was kind of nice to see Chopper back with Hera. They're kind of spying on some refinery of the Empire, but they get caught by the Empire. They get taken back to Syndulla. The clone tells Syndulla he's not going to report her, but this needs to stop, because it's getting very dangerous now to be sneaking around against the Empire. So it's pretty much showing that the Empire is becoming more and more evil, and I like that, because again, empires just don't turn evil; it evolves into that, which is what is happening now. I would have liked to see more of a, time jump, 5 years, seeing that the Empire's doing all this bad things. But anyway, so the clone trooper tells Syndulla about his kid. Syndulla has a chat with Hera. Hera's kind of, listen, I didn't do anything that bad. I just got lost, or it was only a little mission. Turned out it was Gobi who sent her on the mission, and Syndulla is not happy about that. At the same time, Syndulla is trying to get his people to hand over all of their weapons to him, so he can hand it over to the Empire. This makes sense. The Empire obviously not going to want people to have their own weapons, because again, they don't want to let a rebellion form on Ryloth. Makes sense. I'm loving that, because again, that's what happens when you take over another country. You take away the weapons. You want to take away someone's freedom, you take away their weapons. That's how it works. But Syndulla, he's not happy about this, but he understands why he has to do it, because again, he is trying to stop a war happening. They've just gone out of a war with the Separatists. They now don't want to just have another war with the Empire. And we all know there's going to be a war with the Empire, but it is nice to see they're showing that he wasn't just this crazy person who wanted to start wars anytime. We also met Hera's mother. I didn't catch her name, but it was good to see that she's there. At their house, we saw the Y-Wing that crash landed near Hera's house that had Chopper in it. I thought that was a great detail to add to the show. So the Empire leaves Syndulla. Syndulla has a chat with his daughter. The mother also has a chat with Syndulla. It turns out the mother is more in favour of what she's doing to the Empire, spying on them, because she also is like Gobi and does like the fact the Empire is staying on Ryloth. Gobi and Syndulla have a talk. Syndulla's got to tell Gobi he doesn't want to start another war. He wants this peace to last. But Gobi does not believe the Empire are good. He believes that they're here to destroy Ryloth, and he wants to see them off of Ryloth. He pretty much sees the Empire just as, the separatists. They're there to steal from them. They're there to enslave them. And we all know he's right, but Syndulla doesn't see it that way. He just wants, again, to see peace, which is great. We then get a scene where Gobi is heading off to get more weapons because everybody's given up their weapons and he needs to create a supply chain for his new resistance because he is starting something big. But Hera tells him she can't go, but he offers that if she comes with them, he will let her fly the ship. And I thought that was a nice scene between Gobi and Hera. So they head off to meet these secret people who are going to hand over the weapons. Turns out it's the Bad Batch. Again, the problem, this episode was great, and I didn't like the fact the Bad Batch was in this episode. I didn't like it. The Bad Batch, I think, kind of bored me in this episode. And I know people are going to say, what do you mean? It's like, this is a series about the Bad Batch. But again, we want to know more about the Empire. I want to know more about the Empire. You know, that's what should have happened in this series. The Bad Batch should have stayed in the Empire. We should have seen the Empire, you know, be created, see what happened in the Empire, and having the Bad Batch be on the run and not having to see the Empire through their eyes is ridiculous. If you wanted to have this type of, well, they're going to betray the Empire, do it at the end. But in this episode, the Bad Batch were just wasted. And they were just not used. They should not have been in this episode. Omega should not have been in this episode. I know we had a stupid scene between Omega and Hera, and people are going to say, oh, that was a nice scene. It's like, I couldn't give a shit. That scene should have been cut. So the Bad Batch hand over the weapons to Gobi, and then Gobi heads off back down to Ryloth. Turns out they're being spied on by Crosshair, because Crosshair managed to get a tracking device on their ship. He shoots their ship down. They crash land, and then the Admiral of the Empire arrives with a squad, arrests the Gobi and Hera, and and also Senator Tar is with them, and he's going to use this opportunity to try to bring down Syndulla because he is a massive threat to his rule of Ryloth. Now, I don't understand why he is so stupid to think that would work. That I think that would be more like telling the people Syndulla's fighting for your freedom. I mean, Tar is just an idiot. Can't believe it, man. But again, he is a typical politician. So, there are scouts. Well, Crosshair tells the Admiral there's scouts all over the place, and they're going to tell Syndulla about the fact they have his daughter. The Admiral's completely happy with it. That's what he wants to happen because of his secret plan, which I'll get to at the end. So the scouts report back to Syndulla that they've captured Hera. His wife persuades him to attack the convoy. He does. I like the attack on the convoy. They went for the speeder bikes first. I also enjoyed seeing the LA gunships back and the tank, the massive tank in Revenge of the Sith, you know, on Kashyyyk. That massive tank's back in the show. I like that. Because we didn't really see much of it in the Clone Wars series, but we've seen it now. It's fun to see it. But yeah, we saw the convoy getting attacked. Syndulla takes a bike, well, he captures one of the Imperial bikes. Doesn't kill any. He stuns a few clones. The clones kill a few of the Twilight rebels, but one of the Twi'leks manages to jump onto the tank and sabotages it, stops the tank, and the Admiral, well, Tar is panicking, telling the clone trooper on the ship, you need to defend us, stop him, blah blah blah. But the Admiral tells the clone troopers to surrender. So they do, and Tar and Syndulla have a massive argument with each other. Tar calls him a traitor, but Syndulla correctly tells Tar he's the real traitor. He's trying to sell out Ryloth to the Empire, and that's not a thing. And then he pretty much prepares to shoot Tar, but his wife manages to convince him not to do that. But it turns out that was a part of the Admiral's plan, because Crosshair is hiding somewhere, shoots Tar in the head, and the Admiral uses this opportunity to say that Syndulla assassinated Tar Fritau. Now, the problem I have with this is Tar's not supposed to be dead at this point. I think he's in a book where the Sith Apprentice or something. It's a book where there's supposed to be an assassination attempt by Syndulla on the Emperor, and Tar Fritau is supposed to be on the same Star Destroyer as the Emperor. He ends up dying there. So they're changing the law again. Their own law, by the way. Not, the EU. They're changing their own law now. So yeah, Disney are completely fucked. The Story Group are a useless group. My God. But yeah, he's not supposed to be dead yet. Not that I don't like the fact they did this. Again, I think it's a fantastic plan the Empire is doing here, trying to say that Syndulla is the assassin and use this as an opportunity to arrest him. But my problem with that is, wouldn't that make more people, go to his side? Because Tar Fritau is a dickhead. I mean, it's a good plan, but there are problems I have with it. And as soon as this Tar is assassinated, a shitload of gunships appear and a shitload more troops. They arrest Syndulla and his wife and the rebels, but Chopper manages to get Hera away, and then the episode ends. This is definitely a good two-part episode. Finally, we're getting two-part episodes. Finally, we get story arcs, not just one-and-done episodes. It's done. If you're going to do these good episodes, make sure you keep the story going, because that's interesting. Like I said from last week, it shouldn't just be a one-and-done episode. If you're talking about something as massive as, like last week, the Separatists, why would they start a rebellion? Because they lost a war. I think that's what they should be concentrating on now. But yeah, I love this episode. I cannot wait for next week's episode. I hope we see the Bad Batch doing something useful in that episode instead of just being the delivery boys, but who knows. But that's my thought on this episode. If you like this video, give it a like. If you dislike this video, give it a dislike, and do think by subscribing if you like my content. Hail the Phantom Menace, long live CG, fuck SJWs. Bye.